Back in my day, we had some sort of mask of evil thingy in the I can't hold that for that long. Hi. This is the Majora's Mask from the game Majora's Mask. It is a beautiful model made by lucidhack over on Thingiverse. I'll link the description below. So while I'm pulling off all these spikes here that I'll totally remember which order they go in, they're not all the same length. Yeah, I hope I'll be okay. What we can talk instead is just the print itself. So if you may notice, this is two halves, so both halves of the mask are then joined together. There's a little bit of warping I had on my instance, but it's fine. It was a long print, about a day. Anyway, let's get this covered in primers. This is Createx Autoborn Sealer in gray. You may notice that there's some white marks in the center. That's actually where I started filling it in. I would show it, but the autofocus was just so bad. It's like, it's not worth going. So anyway, what I'm doing here is just giving it a quick layer of primer. The goal is just to give something for the next few layers to stick to. My last project had some really bad, at least to PLA adhesion, which is where, if you recall, I had some complete separation and I could peel it off. It was not a fun task. So I'm hoping with some of this I can get it to at least stick enough that it doesn't pull away if I end up accidentally breaking anything or, you know, having other issues. So let's make some of my secret sauce. We'll start with a little water and then some baking soda. And we add some of that to the water, kind of makes it, help it dissolve. That's kind of the key thing. I didn't dissolve it enough, I found out later, but hey, learning is a process, I think. Either way, once we get through that, we're going to take some polyacrylic. I use flat in here, but I actually prefer more of a satin. Either way, it'll work whichever way you do it, you just gotta spray it. Alright, so let's get shooting. Spraying. So I added some blue just to help it show on camera, because otherwise I can't see it well, so how are you going to see it? Either way, don't worry too much about that. We're going to spray down a very thick, heavy coat. I strongly recommend, especially if you've got your PSI a little bit higher, kind of go over it in glassy coats and then kind of give it a little bit of time. You can actually come back to it and spray even more. So I save you a couple coats, but it probably is more like double whatever I say. After getting all blue with my spraying, let's take a little bit of a closer look here, see how well this did or how well it didn't. And so far, for the most part, it's pretty good. There's some areas that are a little bit really bumpy from just too much of the baking soda. I was hoping that it wouldn't do that much, but hey. And then the sides are really steppy, but that's one coat, so, you know, we still got more to go. So after shooting some Vallejo Mecha primer in black, that is like the 5th take on that, by the way. I cannot say that phrase. Just wanted to show off any little bit of odds and ends. There's a lot of little bumps from all the baking soda just still not really flattening itself out. And I kind of was like, all right, well, I'm going to have to sand this thing. And probably sand it a lot. In fact, it's probably about, well, not probably, it is about 5 hours worth of sanding. Yay. But eventually I got it to look something a little bit like this. It's still got some bumps here and there on the raised sections. Honestly, it's going to take probably another couple days just to get it to sand perfectly, and for what the mask is, it doesn't need to be. And so because of that, I can start on the colors. So we are starting with some Createx Pearl Purple. Another tongue twister. I bought this, I don't know, like a year or two ago, and it was one of those, all right, I got to find something to do with this. This color is really cool. So either way, I'm going to start spraying over the whole thing, and I will come back with the final take. Well, not really take, but here's me spraying a little bit of gloss over this guy, just to kind of bring out some of the shine, but I love this color. It is so cool. Now, all of these spikes are officially fixed to the thing. They're not coming off. I super glued them on, which, if you're wondering where that footage is, well, when you add layers to the thing, it makes it really hard to kind of put them together. So I had to really fight to get some of these on. Almost hurt my elbow, actually. But either way, this is the base color that I'm going with. In hindsight, it might not have been the best base color. I probably should have maybe done like the white sections that are going to be a really pain to fill in later, but hey, you know what? I like this color. It looks cool. That's all I need to know. Next would be the gold sections, which includes the eyes. Random aside, I really don't like taping. So gold. I'm actually using brass. This is Vallejo brass. It's a metallic. Should spray well, but it actually doesn't. I'm kind of a little disappointed in that, but I don't use it often, so hey, I wouldn't have known. So let me clarify all of the areas I'm spraying. So we're working on the eyes, obviously, but also all of the spikes, as well as up at the top there's these two sections. Now there's also some runes that I've covered up that I'm going to have to brush paint, and that's going to be a pain, but I'll get to them eventually, I think. Now that we're all golded up, what I can do is grab some blue, yes, literally just blue, and take that and start on these spikes. Zooming into one of the lower spikes, so taking that blue, adding some gloss, actually a lot of gloss, making a glaze, we're going to take it from, solid color or almost solid color up to translucent as we get closer towards the tip. Now it's not all the way to the tip, it's like halfway or so. It's not consistent, it's supposed to be kind of evil looking and whatnot. The next one uses some olive green, and it's literally the same process. I'm not going to show all of this here. So here's what the first two sets of spikes look like. The last one we gotta do is just that red one right there, and then the top one stays. Now for the eyes themselves, they're going to get a gradient going up and then ringing around the top. So we'll use some Ferrari red and add it just like before with a glaze. It's actually the same color on the red spike. And just kind of starting at the bottom, working our way up and slowly but surely building up just a red tint as we go higher up. The model itself is actually supposed to have much more of a darker red towards the bottom, but honestly, my tape was starting to pull up, and I'm like, I don't want to fight this. So I figured whatever I get is whatever I get. And so, big reveal time. I still got more to go. Alright, I'll be back. Hold on. Actual reveal time. I think, probably. I don't know. I'm just slowly peeling it away to show the beauty beneath. Even at double speed, this thing is gonna take a while, so I'm just gonna skip to the end. And there we are. There she is in all of her beautiful purple glory. God, I love those eyes. So, we still got a lot more to do. There's still a crap ton of other colors. I still got more gold to do. There's some black, some reds, some green, white that I'm really not looking forward to, but hey, look at that. That is stunning. I can't wait for this to be all nice and prettied up. Definitely not like that. Wait, hold on, let me rewind a bit. Silly putty. That stuff that you played around with as a kid? Yeah, it's actually pretty decent for masking off certain areas. Now, I'll be honest, this is not the best place for it, but it is good just to, get a general coverage before we go in and do some finer granular details. So going back to what I showed you originally, if we take some red oxide primer from Mission Models, we can start spraying it on the there section, whatever, around the eyes and the mouth, whatever you want to call it. I think I'll call it the eye mask. Oh god, that's terrible. Anyway, yes, that whole section, I will note, the silly putty taping job, yeah, well, I had to go back and touch it up. We're gonna pretend that we don't see that, but, it did happen. And if you're wondering why, I'm allowing paint to go over certain areas or whatnot, that's because I kind of, in the beginning, was like, hey, I'll brush paint that, hey, fix it in post. But before this gets a little boring, let me skip ahead towards the actual reveal. Where's my sparkles, damn it? Now, ain't that pretty. Oh, sorry, got lost in its eyes for a second. Remember that olive green from before? No, I don't really remember it either, but, there it is. We gotta do the cheek sections. I think that's what they'll be called. I don't know. I'm calling them cheeks. But here's the other cheek. That just sounds really weird. I mean, after turning the other cheek, okay. Yeah, well, give me a second. Alright, so on this side, which is a little bit easier to see even though the shadows are going to be all over the place, we took my finest airbrush, we as in me, and just carefully sprayed as best we could. Now again, I'm going to be hand brushing some of these smaller details here and there. It's going to be black, so, you know, it'll cover up most of it. So I don't have to be perfect, as long as I'm good enough. And just for the record, we're talking about these cheeks, not anywhere else. And while I was looking at it, I kind of said, you know what, this needs a little bit more red. Here's Ferrari red, and we're going to go and leave the mouthpiece, but the, oh man, what do you want me to call them? Like the eye surround mask thing? That's where we're going to be going. Yeah, that looks so much better. Moving on to the white section. This is Createx Detail White. It's, I mean, I'm not going to say it's like the best white out there, because it's not. It still is a pain to lay down. But at the very least, it's not too bad. I don't know. I mean, it's white. It's not going to be easy. If you've ever brushed white, you'll know it takes too many coats, especially for a really dark base. Somebody planned ahead, and it definitely wasn't me. I'll be back. Look into my eyes. Alright, post white here. I was really liking where it was going, although I did have to note, like, the white is really in your face. But before we get that, we gotta finish these eyes. And how am I gonna do that? Well, Cream Vice. So this is by Ammo. It's a yellowy off-white color, which should be perfect for the inside of the eyeball, you know, the iris. Or maybe it's the pupil. You know what? This isn't real life eyes. It's close enough. Either way, its concave shape requires us to, you know, spin the thing. So if you're like seeing it upside down and all this, but I'm just trying to get a good even coverage on this. So there's about one eye just about done. Looks actually weird comparatively to the other one. In case you're wondering what that looks like against the rest of the eye, look at that. There's still more to do, so I actually got to put the silly putty back on, but, you know, it looks good, and that's what matters. So remember that olive green from before? Deja vu? We're going to be using that again. But this time, we're going to add a little bit of gloss and make it I've done this already. Hold on. Alright, whatever. So, we're making a glaze out of it, and we're going to spray around the top section or something. Let me show you one, and then I'll show you the other one. It's like pink eye, but green. Alright, yes. So what we're going to do is take the glaze, and working from the top, make it really solid, and then slowly come down around the sides. Now, I'm going to say right now, I'm not really the best at making them equal, so I ended up just kind of going darker and darker and darker, but, well, I mean, it works. And I mean, if you're like me and you end up making it too dark and you're like, yeah, I don't really like it anymore, or in this case, the cream vice started not showing well, I was like, shoot, what do? I don't know, just throw more cream vice on it. Looks pretty good to me. But here's where things go awry. And by awry, I mean, I wasn't really feeling well. Recording wasn't really going to happen. And I had a lot of brush painting to do. And you know, like, how do I make this enjoyable? How do I left and right? I wasn't sure. So I did the easy thing and just did it off camera. Ha ha! But rather than let you figure out what I've done, I'll actually at least go over some of what's going on. Let me get my pointing brush stick thing here. So the first thing being, I kind of showed it, but it's that white section all around. I actually went over it with a cream vice again, just to tone it down some. So it was here, you know, this little triangle doodad, the one on the other side, as well as its own triangle doodad. Next is the green, and that's going to be on the two cheek sections, so here and then over here on the other side. Next is the black around the eyes, so it's kind of like the eyelids, I guess. So that covers this whole section as well as the like raised part of it. down by the mouth, that little mouthpiece, as well as the kind of overall eye thing, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, as well as all of the individual spikes get their own at the base. And then, since I didn't really point it out specifically, you know, the white stripe coming down from the top center. Finally, with that black that's not really easy to see, that comes just along the like gold sections on the front. Oh yeah, and actually all of the gold little medallion doodads, those are also hand painted. And before the final step, I just wanted to kind of quickly show it off in all of its glory, let you see some of the front and back. I mean, you'll see it again, but you know. Which, yeah, the final step is just going to be some gloss. I mean, the big thing is, I want those eyes to look, this sounds weird, but wet, you know, like actual eyeballs, as well as all the purple really needs to be bright and shiny, same with the spikes and whatnot, so I'm going to go over it with a final coat of gloss, and then I will be right back. And yeah, that's going to be it for this one. This was a pretty big project for what it is. I mean, me getting sick notwithstanding, but like, it's a lot of brush painting. I probably spent just 8 hours just brushing paint. Most of it are the white sections, but you know, I mean, that happens. It is a fantastic model. I do strongly recommend you giving it a go if you're able to. And it's gonna look so great on my wall, even with all the blemishes, as long as I don't break it. But that's a different story. But if you like what you see, by all means give this video a like. Feel free to subscribe if you think I've earned it. And by all means, while you're there, down, or at least down in the description section, by all means go check out the guy that created this. He's got some cool stuff. Anyway, see you in the next one.